Claudia Zaragoza, welcome to the podcast. Such an honor for you to be here.
Ashish, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. You know, you are, I've been following you for a while, and as we were prepping for the podcast and just riffing for a little bit, I think that having you on the podcast is sort of out of the ordinary for my normal guests that I bring onto the podcast, and something that I was really gravitating towards when I was watching you and seeing how you show up in the world is not only are you trying to live a really, rich, balanced life of high excellence in both athletics and nutrition, but like you're just trying to be a really good person, and you're trying to serve the world, and you're trying to help people, and you've become you're really showing up from a place of like being an expert and learning and experimenting and sharing what you're learning. So I'm just excited for you to be here so that we could suck all this great knowledge out of you today and share it with the audience. So just really sincerely appreciate you being here.
No, thank you so much. I'm really excited because talking to you beforehand, I wanted to share it in this podcast, usually stuff that I usually don't share, or people usually talk to me about or ask me about biohacking and triathlon maybe and other stuff. And I want to really dig in to the juice of why I do what I do. And yeah, we're trying to be a nice person, actually, yes. To share what we know.
Well, I mean, again, if people want to learn everything that you have to share, they can follow you on Instagram. You're everywhere. You share a lot of really free content about all your biohacking techniques and all that. So today's podcast is really about going deeper and learning the secrets that you have really uncovered on your journey. And let's kind of start there. You're an amateur triathlete. You've been training with Mexico for many, many years at the highest levels. You are really trying to live from a health perspective and a nutrition perspective at your highest levels. Tell us a little bit about what you do different in your work, and what are you experimenting with? What have you done to get to this level, and what seems to be working?
What I do different from other people who coach endurance athletes is that I take a holistic approach basically to your health. I always say first health, then performance. Why? Because health will bring you a better performance. And people sometimes are striving for perfect performance, and they forget that if they twitch a bunch of stuff, they can arrive to that performance faster. So if in Performers, that's like the name of my team, and Revoluciona tu Salud, that's like my private practice of functional medicine, I try to integrate both. And with my athletes, I actually practice functional medicine. I ordered them labs and check out their specific biomarkers like vitamin B12, iron levels, other types of minerals, in order for them to be optimized, in order for them to perform better. And normally people don't do that. They don't do like the due diligence to optimize your health in order to optimize your performance. So that's what we do differently in Performers. We love gadgets, and I'm a big gadgets fan, because if you have metrics and you know what you're doing, how you're sleeping, what's your HRV score, if you are arriving to deep sleep, REM sleep, if your glucose early in the morning it's at the right level, you will know what to do, what to tweak in order for you to have more energy, more stamina, and more vitality. So what we work is on mastering your body, not only by training, but by listening to it, by measuring it, by knowing if you get 7 hours of sleep, how you will train the next day. If you get 5 hours of sleep, how you will train and how will your body respond. And so it's about really getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
So let's slow this down. So basically what we're talking about from a performance level, and I really like this, even in the context of business or high performance in any aspect of our life, creating a baseline, but getting data to understand what that baseline looks like, what things we are missing in those baselines, like are we sleeping enough, are our vitamin levels imbalanced. So just like we're talking about just basic foundational nutrition. Is that right?
That's true. Basic foundation nutrition. And if we want to get a little bit deeper, we could also study your stool, your pee, basically, your obviously blood with the vitamins. But yeah, it's basically a big world about studying your basic nutrition, but actually what you excrete from your body and how's the health of what you're excreting. So that's really like important.
Wow. And when you do that and you interlace training at the highest level, you're noticing increases of performance because you're fulfilling or serving maybe parts of your basic nutrition that are lacking. Is that kind of what makes sense here?
That sounds really good for what I'm saying. I'm going to give you an example. The other day, one of my athletes, he's a new one. He was like, well, I'm not performing that good on the bicycle. I really need more power, but I'm training every day. I'm supposedly doing everything fine, but I can't seem to get that power up, that stamina, that energy. So I was like, let's do some exams. Let's do some lab tests. Let's do some vitamin B12, iron levels, etc. And the lab test returned and he was really low on vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 helps you oxygen better, helps you produce red blood cells, basically. If you don't produce red blood cells, you're not gonna recover really fast if you go and train hard. You're not gonna increase your VO2 max, your volume oxygen top level. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really important if you like go and see and look at those markers that people don't usually watch when they're like a big athlete. And as well, you don't have to be a big athlete as well to like watch those markers. Vitamin B12 helps you really with your neuroplasticity, helps you with your energy, helps you like staying more focused on what you're doing. So it's really important to have like those types of basic stuff on really an optimal range in order to perform better. I don't know if that helped.
No, it totally makes sense. And let's stay here for a minute, because if we're talking about the foundational baseline of health, before we even become a triathlete, we'd also talk about food and intake and what we consume. And I know from you, like you portray, you talk a lot about this, living an optimal health lifestyle, eating incredibly nutritious food. But I find that that's like a really big, there's a lot, nothing is black and white about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. There's so many different schools of thought. But so we're talking really about like basic fundamental blood work, making sure your vitamins, your basic nutrition is there. And then you supplement that with the right food nutrition. Tell us a little bit about that, because, I think there's a lot of, it's a gray matter area, right? There's a lot of, dieting and this and that. So tell us about how we should think about food as part of this baseline. Actually, that was a long-winded question. I'm sorry about that.
No, but it's a really good question, because I really believe that the future of wellness is personalized. Okay, what does it mean to be personalized? To really know not which diet to choose, but which parts of different diets choose in order for you to be better. Because, for example, your keto, which is really popular right now, if you don't have a good observation of fats, you don't absorb fats better, keto is not for you. So you have to check your digestive system if you are really absorbing really good your fats. So if you are, if you have insulin resistance, you're not gonna do a high carb diet and a low protein diet, like a vegan diet, which is really high on carbs. It's gonna detriment your health it's going to be worse for you. So it's more about looking at the other way. Is what conditions, what root conditions do you have? How are your parents, in order for you to choose the type of diet and personalize your diet. So when January comes and everybody wants to make
goals,
live a healthier life, have different goals, or go into a diet, I really suggest that go first and study yourself, do some lab work, see what you're made of in order to know how your body will respond to any different diet. So that it's not black or white what we were talking about. It's full of gray. So it's like embracing the grayness, that we're all incredibly unique. So if we accept that we're incredibly unique, we will know how to handle ourselves in another level. So I really wish people would start looking at themselves first, studying them a little bit, seeing their markers, and after that, making some choices.
I love that. Now let's get to you, because are you pretty intense with your routine? What you consume? Do you experiment with different things? Talk to us a little bit about your own schedule and how you take care of yourself.
It's been a process, because I keep on changing stuff, small stuff, because I keep on changing. When I was really hardcore on triathlon and I was like competing on worlds for like 5-6 years, my intake on carbohydrates was a little bit higher and my intake of protein was a little bit higher. Right now, I'm super active. I usually train a lot as well, but I'm not competing at that level anymore. So my intake of carbohydrates is a little bit lower. So it's been changing all around in my nutrition wise. I do some intermittent fasting, but basically more in the night. I just like leave in between 12 hours to 14 hours not eating, just to like let my digestive system rest a little bit. I'm not a huge believer on doing like 48 hours fast, 72 hours fast. I really believe that you lose muscle. I don't really believe it. I see it, that people lose muscle, and muscle is your elixir for longevity. And people don't really see muscle that way. They just see muscle if they would go to the gym and just like lift weights. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'm derailing a little bit, but continuing back to my routine, I check myself once every 6 months, how my lab is, my work, if I have sensibilities to certain type of food. For example, I just did that test again. I do it for once a year, and I have a sensibility to egg. And so what does that mean? That I'm not gonna eat egg this year. I'm just gonna lower my intake of eggs. So because that produces an autoimmune problem. And so I'm actually like work that you have to always keep on changing, trial and errors is that's the same thing with your body. So what I was eating about 2 years ago, now I eat it differently.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So also we grow, and as women, we start to enter different types of hormone cycles, and you have to like twitch that a little bit with your supplements as well. I supplement a lot. I actually really believe in supplements. I believe that right now food is not doing the work that it used to do like a bunch of like about 50 years ago. Our digestive systems are weak, so we're actually not absorbing as smartly as we used to. So we can be eating super healthy, but we could be not absorbing vitamins and minerals. So yeah, my morning routine is about enhancing my mineral intake. So I usually take a lot of sodium, magnesium, potassium, a bunch of probiotics, NAC, NAC for my liver. And yeah, I have like my personalized supplementation there. I really believe that another trend is going to be how to personalize your supplementation in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to talk about mindset with you. because we get into the foundation of building a good foundation of nutrition and health. And then you want to perform at the highest level. So now you got this baseline. You know what you're supposed to do. You're equipped to do it. But you got to get in the mindset of performing at the highest level and actually do the work. And I'm sure that there are times where, and we can talk about racing and race day, and we can talk about just everyday training and getting up on the bike for 6 hours a day and like the consistency of that. And there are times where you were like, I don't feel like training for 6 hours today. How do you deal with that? How do you get into the mindset of pushing yourself into something that you perhaps don't feel like you want to do that day, but you know how important it is?
That's an awesome question, because maybe my answer is gonna be pretty different than what people normally answer. This is all about your energy as currency. I'm not gonna set myself up for a 6-hour bike if I know that I'm not gonna give it my best. So it's an anticipation process. So in order for me to do a 6-hour bike, I have to build 2-3 weeks earlier my energy, my stats, my HRV, my sleep, a 2-hour bike, a 3-hour bike, in order to get there.
Right.
So that's more like a value investing.
I like that.
In what you're doing, not just like, hey, one day
muscle through it.
Yeah, no, it's really detrimental for your body to like for out of the blue maybe just like do like the 6-hour bike. If I wake up and I'm not ready to do the 6-hour bike, that means that the last 2 weeks something is off.
So really not just thinking about, okay, well, right now, I mean, I use the 6-hour bike, but it could be anything, right? It could be just an hour run. And what you're saying is like, if something in my body is telling me that I'm not ready for this, or I'm too tired, or I don't feel like making this happen, that there's something that is off in my schedule before that moment. Maybe I'm not resting enough. Maybe I'm not have enough nutrition. Maybe I'm not healing or what have you. Or maybe I'm not training properly. That's it. You're right. I didn't expect that answer. That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. No, nobody expects that answer because I'm going to disrespect myself if I do that bike just for the no pain, no gain, and just because I need to push myself. I
said I would do it.
Yeah. The no pain no gain. It's BS, man. It's just like putting your body on strain. Actually, I don't think that's smart at all. It's not optimizing. To optimize yourself, you need to listen to yourself. You need to do what you did 2 weeks before. Study yourself a little bit. So I usually tell my athletes that no, it's not about running 2 hours or just like push yourself. Is know when to push yourself and don't have any doubt that you're going to push yourself. Example, everybody like goals. They set goals. I always say to them, set a goal that you're sure you're going to achieve. If you're not sure, don't set that goal. So that's way easier to set that to achieve that goal. And if you achieve that goal, that means that you just climb a step on the ladder, and it's way better. The thing is that we overestimate ourselves in what we can do in a month, and we underestimate ourselves in what we can do in a year.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you just do like a small stuff for a month, maybe just one change, maybe you're not going to see that of a difference. But if you keep doing that change for 12 months, you're going to see a huge difference.
What about when you set a goal? I really love this line of questioning too, is like listening to yourself, thinking about how we build up to the major tasks or major accomplishments we want to achieve, maybe major goals. But like if you have a race day and you've told yourself like for 3 months you're training up and everything feels really good, but what about if you're not in tune on that day of the race? What happens then? Or does that even happen?
Okay, it could be but something went wrong, or
Something
you
went
just like
wrong.
got a bug or
Sure.
emotional stress really hard. But if I, either for myself or for an athlete of mine, if I see that they did everything great for like 3 months and everything was fine and their data and everything, and that day if they feel like something bad, not physically but maybe emotionally or mentally, no, that is the time that I will give that speech.
Mm.
I will give that motivational speech. A speech, I will definitely say, believe in yourself and just go minute by the minute. Because sometimes when you just start competing in a huge race, every minute is different. So give yourself like the benefit of the doubt that you got this and you have it. So that's a totally different story when you wake up maybe not feeling that great.
Do you spend a lot of time thinking about inflammation and recovery when you're training at that level? Like, are you ice bathing? Are you doing massage? Are you meditating more? Like, how do you get into recovery as much as output? Like, does that make sense?
Well, the fourth pillar of endurance training is recovery. So you have to really put time and effort for that. So basically, if you're like training more than 8 to 10 hours a week, or maybe more than 10, you have to really go to your therapy, physical therapy, for to reduce any type of inflammation. And cold baths are good, are great, specifically when you're like after a long run or a high intensity run or a long bike or a high intensity bike. And for other type of shorter type of training, sauna is really, really good. It actually, there's some studies that if you continue to use sauna after your workout, your perception of effort will be lesser every time you're on the bike or competing. So the perception of your effort switches when you do sauna post workout. So
Interesting.
we actually, I really recommend sauna. I'm a huge sauna fan. I actually have a small sauna in my house, and I get into for like 20 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe 5 days a week. So I'm really huge on sauna and its benefits.
What's in the future for you? What do you hope to achieve, and what are the things you're working on in the next 5 or 10 years in this line of work?
I'm growing my community in social media, and not only in social media, but my community and performers in my work. I have already 150 athletes, 150 athletes. I have other coaches. So the next step is mentoring more coaches in order to grow the business. And we also want to grow the business by developing different types of courses online. I already have 3 of them, and the objective is to develop more and help a little bit more people with what we know and what we experience. We have of experience. So like that's the line. Right now, I'm every single week I'm sending a massive newsletter to all of my database, and curating basically the best information on wellness, biohacking, functional medicine, training, mental coaching, and everything. So, and that's, I've really gotten really good reviews and really good feedback. So I want to share more in order to grow more as my business. And I mean, I guess if you have better health, you're going to be a better person. If you're going to be a better person, that will come back to me, and I will give that to you as well. And it's going to be a really good collective
Absolutely.
way of helping each other out.
As a businesswoman, and as you're growing your business and growing your reach, what are some of the skills that you have taken from high athletics? What are the things you can apply from that skill set into your business life, and some of the things perhaps that have helped you overcome challenges in the business world?
I'm going to answer you with one phrase: compound interest. Like
Okay.
in finance, when you put some money in Standard & Poor's and it has a compound interest and you leave it there, that's the same in athletics. when you keep on training and if you're constant with your training, you're gonna develop a big, massive aerobic engine. So I always say that every time you put a small effort into something, it will multiply a bit more in the next months and the next months.
I love that.
So that is what I've taken from athletics, and how the consistency of doing your work, your training, helps you out basically in other stuff, like the book Atomic Habits, the 1% better. Actually, the first chapter starts with a bunch of guys that want to be better cyclists, basically. And they started like being more oriented to details, like changing their tires, eating better food, going into the sauna, taking their supplements. And when they started to get a little bit more into the detail, 1% better in different areas, they started increasing their power output at bike. So I see that in my business as well. If I'm doing the newsletter every single week, eventually it's like a compound interest. Eventually everybody would know that I have that information and blah, blah, blah. So it's all about being consistent.
I love that answer. That is so true and so powerful. I really, really love that answer. What are you most afraid of?
I'm afraid of being a little bit overwhelmed with what is happening with my business. It's growing, and it's growing a lot, and a lot of people are asking for my attention.
Sure.
And so I'm scared of growing faster because I believe I'm growing slower. There's a really good book called Stretch that it teaches you how different business are more long-term, are more consistent when they grow slower. So I'm scared of that, and I'm just trying to be a little bit cautious with that, because I don't want to take into the business a coach that I don't believe that she or he is going to do a good job. Mentoring, it's a lot of time. So I'm just scared of growing faster and losing control of what I've built the last 10 years.
Yeah, grow slow to grow fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we actually say train slow to compete fast. So that's another one.
Yeah. And I think you've laced that throughout your entire conversation today, is like being intentional and scaling from there, right? I love that compound interest example. I guess as we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question, and maybe I'll think about another one too, because there may be a couple of things I want to dig into. But for you, what does it mean to live a rich life?
For me to live a rich life, it's all about trying to reach your perfect balance. You don't reach a balance. It's impossible. It's a topic sometimes. But trying and giving your best to reach your personal balance. What do I mean by personal balance? For example, I love doing exercise either an hour or 2 hours a day. And maybe other people will say you're too intense, it's too much exercise. But for me, getting that 1 hour to 2 hours of training, maybe sometimes 3 in the weekends, that's balance for me. And balancing my sports, balancing my jobs. I could be a little bit workaholic, and I could go on and on and on. And if a day I consult my patients or athlete from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m., I'm usually dead the next day. So trying to work-life balance, it's gonna be, I really believe I would live a rich life if I balance a little bit more and don't overwork myself. So I have to be really smart about that. And I love pampering myself in a way that I love doing the sauna, going to acupuncture. So when I start to not do all those stuff that I love, I'm not living a rich life. So it's about balancing what I love the most and not overdoing one of the other. I will definitely say that. So just checking in all the time with yourself.
I love that. And I love how you find that acupuncture is pampering yourself. I'm going to let you own that, because that is not pampering to me. For sure.
That's why I said personal balance.
Your pampering for sure is not that for me, but that is beautiful. Yeah, really, really appreciate your insight. I love having athletes and high performers in athletics on the podcast because I think there's so much to learn about the mindset of an athlete. And, we think about as business professionals always about our business, and we don't think about all these other aspects of our everyday life that contribute to our ability to perform at the highest level in our business. So that's why I really wanted to have you on the podcast today to talk about some of these topics. And I just really appreciate you.
No, thank you so much. And do you know what's a really interesting thing is that athletes, they know how to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
And they know how to linger
in pain,
and struggle. And sometimes as human beings, we don't want any struggles. And every time we're in a struggle, we want to leave the struggle, but we don't know how to be in the struggle.
Yes, I love this.
And so I believe that being an athlete teaches you to be comfortable with uncomfortability.
Boom.
Yeah.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that in business, all the time there are problems that you have to have a solution. And sometimes you cannot have a solution as quickly as you wanted it to. So leveling that uncomfortability, that being uncomfortable, it really helps by being an athlete. I really believe that sometimes when I'm really tired, but I have to do this work maybe, and my mindset of being an Ironman helps a lot. Helps endurance in your sports, helps with endurance in your professional life.
Well, I'm going to go for a 6.5 mile run now. So if there's nothing else you want to talk about, just kidding.
Well, right now?
Okay. I'm ready. You pumped me up. I'm ready. I'm ready to get uncomfortable.
To be in the struggle, to linger in the struggle.
I'm ready to linger in the struggle. Well, Claudia, I honor you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing all your knowledge. I wish you continued success in your growth of your business and sharing all your knowledge with all these other athletes in the world. So really appreciate you and everything you stand for.
Thank you, Ashish, so much for interviewing me. I love this space. I love what you're doing. And what I love the most is your intention behind your questions, which I think they're really important because you know that we were talking before this, that sometimes we just want to get those 3 fast tips, but when at the end, this is more profound, more deep. And when you actually have your why, when you find your why and why and for what you're doing stuff, it's easier said that it's super easier to do, to execute. Yes. So thank you for bringing me to that point to go a little bit more deeper.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Have a good one.
Bye.